Phan Duy xin kính chào quý khán thính giả của Sài Gòn Network Television 51.3 và kính mời quý vị theo dõi chương trình văn hóa và xã hội của chúng tôi hôm nay. Thưa quý khán thính giả, mới đấy mà đã 50 năm ngày kỷ niệm Tết Mậu Thân. Năm nay là Tết Mậu Tuất, 50 năm rồi nhưng có lẽ không ai có thể quên được niềm đau và những cái vết thương còn rớm máu của một mùa Tết Mậu Thân. Hẳn quý khán giả cũng như chúng ta đã đọc rất là nhiều tài liệu, cũng nghe nói đến rất là nhiều bài viết hoặc là những chương trình truyền hình để tưởng niệm 50 năm thảm sát Mậu Thân. Hôm nay Sài Gòn Network Television 51.3 và Phan Duy rất là hân hạnh trong chương trình văn hóa xã hội mời được một vị khách để có một cái nhìn, có thể gọi là một cái nhìn khác hơn là những cái nhìn của người Việt Nam, để kể cho chúng ta nghe sự tham chiến trực tiếp của ông trong Tết Mậu Thân, cũng như là những cái nhìn của một người lính Hoa Kỳ. Thưa quý khán thính giả, chúng tôi muốn nói đến là cựu đại tá William Comey mà chúng tôi rất là hân hạnh được quen biết và mời ông đến tham dự trong chương trình hôm nay. Mời quý vị theo dõi cuộc nói chuyện của chúng tôi. Colonel Comey, at first, I have to say that thank you so much for taking time to come to the program today.
Well, thank you. I enjoy it.
Yes, it is special because this year, New Year, Lunar New Year, we commemorate 50 years since the Tet Offense.
I remember.
Yes, very vividly, right?
Right.
I would like for you to say hi to our audience and tell them a little bit about you.
All right. Well, I'm a Bel Air High School graduate, and I went to Texas A&M. I was commissioned a second lieutenant in the Army in 1963, and my wife and I, we went to Fort Benning, Georgia, in the 2nd Infantry Division.
All right.
And in 1965, I deployed to Vietnam via ship with the 1st Cavalry Division. And we went to NK and then to the Highlands, Pleiku, and the Ia Drang Valley.
Right.
And I spent a year in Vietnam and returned to the United States in 1966 and went to Fort Jackson as a training officer for a training division. Following that, in 1968, or 67 really, I was sent to Vietnam again, arriving in the 1st of January of 1968, and had the unique experience of experiencing the Tet Offensive.
Right. When you say you come back to Vietnam the second time in January 1968, which means that probably a month before the Lunar New Year, the Tet, exactly.
Yeah,
so tell me what your special assignment, or what are you being deployed there for?
Well, I had a unique assignment. I was tasked to create a headquarters company, a mobile headquarters company, for the purpose of invasion or intrusion into North Vietnam by the United States Armed Forces.
Invasion to North Vietnam.
That is correct. During the month of December and January, the United States moved 180,000 troops north of Hue, created this headquarters command. General Creighton Abrams, who was the deputy commander for Vietnam, became the commander of that unit. It was called MACV Forward.
So you were sent back to Vietnam in January 1968, specifically to prepare to invade North Vietnam?
Well, let's put it this way. I arrived and was available to be included in it.
Okay.
I didn't know anything about the invasion until I arrived in Vietnam, or the plan.
I see.
But because of the Tet Offensive, which started in the rest of Vietnam, it started on the 30th. For some reason, they were a day late in Hue, and the attacks didn't start until the 31st of January in Hue.
Okay.
And that was both on the city of Hue and on Phu Bai, which was a large air base that had both Vietnamese and American forces stationed there. Okay. So that it was a two-pronged attack in that area.
Right. Tell us a little bit the sense of when you arrived there, and what did you do? How to, you know, what was the preparation for the invasion of the North?
Well, my job, I was commander of the headquarters company, which was a mobile company designed to move with the commander, General Abrams. As the forces moved forward, we'd be relocating the headquarters. The name of the unit was the MACV Forward, was all the name it had. It later, after the plan was called off, it evolved into a separate corps headquarters.
Right. Do you remember exact the day that it would call off of the invasion?
No, I just know it was probably late March.
I'm still interested in kind of relieve the area that you prepare for the North. Beside your unit, any other unit that you?
Oh, well, we had the 3rd Marine Division, the 1st Cav Division, which I'd been in 1965-66, part of the 101st Airborne Division, 82nd Airborne Division, 5th Mechanized Infantry, and portions of the 1st Marine Division.
Right.
And it was going to be a combination of amphibious landings on the coast of North Vietnam, and helicopter assaults, and even a parachute drop.
All that already.
Right. And if you had been in the area at the time, just before the Tet Offensive, you would have seen all of these forces being moved into positions, and wonder why such a massive amount. There were over 180,000 troops that were moved north of Way.
Which is Quan Chi and the DMZ area.
Rockpile, DMZ, Khe Sanh.
Khe Sanh. Okay. And everybody is ready there.
Right. We were posed to go, and then the Tet Offensive started. But the North Vietnamese, when they arrived in Way, they actually brought 7,000 extra rifles because they thought the population was going to rise up against the Americans, and that there would be a popular revolution by the people supporting the North Vietnamese army. It didn't happen.
So they thought that we didn't have enough weapons.
Well,
so they brought extra weapons so that
to arm the population.
To arm the population, them. Yeah. Well,
but, there was no participation at all.
Right. So there are several elements of surprise to both sides. Would you say?
Greatly.
When you say?
If you look back at the whole operation, it was a catastrophic defeat for the North Vietnamese. They seized and held nothing, had terrible casualties, and yet it was a catastrophic political loss to the United States, because it called into question all of the positive reporting that had been done in 1967 about how we were winning the war, and it was winding down, and then this great battle started. The press became very adverse to Vietnam following the Tet Offensive.
Right.
And for example, my reception when I got back the second time was soldiers weren't very welcome in the United States in a lot of ways.
Now we'll talk before, and you were saying that there are several classified information that we won't be able to talk, but now it's declassified. For example, the number of North Vietnamese troops and so on and so forth. Is that
well, the estimates are there were something between 70 and 80,000 North Vietnamese troops.
Right.
They had come down Laos, and they attacked primarily in the Central Highlands, Way Phu Bai, and then down around Saigon.
Right.
They attacked 36, I think, of 39 provincial headquarters or provincial governorships. And of course cut all the roads and transportation in the country. But when you look back, they also suffered staggering losses and in the end held nothing.
When you came to Vietnam the first time and the second time, I could imagine that you were still, I mean, of course you were very, very young, coming to a country that, you know, far, far away, and you have no idea of the culture, no idea of the weather, no idea of what's going on. What was your feeling?
Well, you know, the first time when we went in the first time with First Cav Division, and we were up in the Highlands.
That's Kon Tum.
Kon Tum. But the country is stunningly beautiful, and of course there was a mixture of the mountain yards, which were common folks on that area, and then the Vietnamese headquarters or cities, which we rarely went into. So we spent most of our time in places like the Ai Drang Valley, and then Bong Song, up along the First Corps border. We spent quite a bit of time up there. But you know, it was interesting that I've seen wild tigers in Vietnam, wild elephants in Vietnam, have been attacked by monkeys in Vietnam, and yet never, other than, you know, the talk of the Viet Cong, you know, always Viet Cong, Viet Cong. In my experience in 1965, 66, we fought almost exclusively against North Vietnamese soldiers in uniform.
I see.
They all had a set of black pajamas in their packs, but when we dealt with them, they were part of the army of North Vietnam, having invaded South Vietnam. There were very few guerrillas in our areas.
Right.
So that, and my experience was that during 1965, 66, the quality of the North Vietnamese soldiers diminished rapidly, and they lacked supplies. They were, a lot of them, almost all of them, had malaria. Very young, very sick, and increasingly not as effective as they were when we first met them.
Amazingly, a couple of years later, they were able to attack in the Tet Offense.
It was amazing because no one, when I arrived in Vietnam in 1968, no one mentioned anything about a possibility of an attack, or we weren't. It was a complete surprise. And now, except that in Hue, we were told one day ahead, because they'd already attacked in Saigon and Quy Nhon and all of the other areas, so that we had a warning. But sure enough, 24 hours later, the rockets started coming in, and there were North Vietnamese soldiers. They never really attacked Phu Bai, because their objective was Hue, I think. And unfortunately, they inflicted a lot of damage on the Vietnamese government officials and families, and eventually occupied the citadel. And for a couple of weeks, fooling around, we were all adverse to destroying Hue with heavy fire, you know, aircraft, what have you, because it was the cultural center of the country.
Yes.
But in the end, we had to do it because we'd lost too many people. No other way in.
Yeah, I see. In thinking back, do you think that the north of Vietnam decided to attack in the Tet Offense to counter back with the decision of North invasion? From
what I've read and learned since then, the actual plans for the Tet Offensive began in April of 1967.
So how would the American intelligence, not knowing that the North Vietnamese would plan in since April 67?
I can't answer that. I don't know, because it seems to me in conversations I've had with other military officers over the years, there's a group who say we knew, we should have known, there was evidence there, and others who said no, it was a complete surprise. I will say that when I came back from Vietnam in 1966, I remember my father asking me, what did I expect? And I told him I thought it was over. I thought we'd be pulling out of Vietnam in 1967.
Wow.
Because the North was defeated from what we could tell.
Right.
But obviously I was wrong too.
Right.
Took a while more.
Cảm ơn quý vị đã theo dõi phần đầu của chương trình tưởng niệm 50 năm thảm sát mậu thân. Chương trình kế tiếp chúng tôi sẽ mời quý vị nghe cựu đại tá William Comey kể lại những cái chi tiết mà ông tham dự trong cái trận đánh để mà giải tỏa và giải thoát cái thành phố Huế trong cái sự xâm chiếm của Cộng sản Bắc Việt. Phan Dị xin cảm ơn quý vị đã theo dõi và xin mời quý vị tiếp tục theo dõi chương trình kế tiếp để chúng ta tưởng niệm 50 năm cuộc thảm sát mậu thân tại Huế.